high school counselors. Today our video is about how to be organized in case that a crisis arises in our school. We're going to talk a little bit about the protocols, the Suicide Columbia screener, systems in place that you must have before the incident to avoid, the situation is it's way stressful, in fact. So how we can have systems in place so we can handle the situation appropriately without missing any steps. Okay, my name is Krystel Santiago and I'm a school counselor, and I have a TPT store called Counseling Solutions by Krys. Today I want to give you a couple of tips and suggestions that works for me. Not necessarily, I'm not giving you a legal advice. This is just a disclaimer. I'm not providing legal advice, things that work for me, that I use in my school, and that I use in the past in different districts, and giving you a little bit of my knowledge. The first thing that you need to know that this is a serious situation. We handle every single case is different, and it's very important that we have some systems in place. Usually what happens is someone gives you the report or the students make the outcry to you, and then you start kind of like running around trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, talking to the student. The majority of the situations obviously is a stressful situation for all the parts. Sometimes you don't know where you have your documents. Sometimes you can find it in your Google Drive. Sometimes you can find it anywhere. And in order to be more relaxed, calm, and peaceful, it's good to have all those things in hand. Okay, that's why I'm providing this. It's gonna take us to tip number 1: stay organized. Make a physical, tangible copy of the documents, and second of all, make a Google Drive folder in your Google Drive, by the way, where you can find those documents right away. The second thing that I want to mention, my grade level is elementary, but we're seeing it more and more, where numbers are increasing. I think it's kind of the society responding to our reality right now. Everybody's so overwhelmed and so stressful. COVID brought up a bunch of new things, a bunch of traumas in our children, and also there's students also that are using that word not on purpose, but they don't know what are the right words to express that you're overwhelmed, or like you are kind of the right words to express that they're overwhelmed and that they're not feeling well. Okay, so and that's going to take us regarding the organization. Rather, if you're nervous, if you're anxious, if you maybe are a little bit disorganized, this is going to help you and guide you to have all the things in place. Some of you like to put it in an expandable folder like this one. There's brown ones. This one is kind of different, and I bought this one at Target like for $3, and then this ones I found them. These ones are folders, or you can use the ones that the school is providing for you. I found this ones at Walmart like for $3, not expensive. In one, I like to put this ones in a different type of folder, kind of easy to identify, rather if it's in your file cabinet or in your desk, at your fingertips. Sometimes I said like, hey God, I'm gonna make only 10 copies because I do not want to have more than 10 suicide outcries this year. But sometimes it doesn't happen the way that we expected, and the main thing is that you express to the children, you're here, you're safe, we love you, we care about you, and we're going to take care of this. So the first document that you need to have in place, that's going to take us to tip number 2 and 3. Number 2 is use your time wisely. Why you need to use your time wisely? Usually this type of situations happen by the end of the day. Sometimes in my experience happens on Mondays and Fridays most of the times. It doesn't mean that throughout the week can happen, yes, but it usually happens whenever they're going for the weekend with their family, they're going home, or when they're coming back from home or from the traumatic place that they don't like to be. Those type of negative thoughts. The other thing why to use your time wisely, you need to contact a bunch of people, and we're going to talk about that in tip number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it's going to require time, and you need to quality, not quantity. But at the same time, you need to keep the pace and the ball rolling right away in order so you can do all the steps together before the students go home, giving also time for the parent to arrive to school and have that emergency conference. Okay. Tip number 3, documents needed, and that's where we're going over here. So in 1, I put the Columbia Suicide Screener Rating Scale, C-SSRS, as you can see over here in this one, and I'm going to put it on the links down below. All this information also, I'm going to put it on my blog tomorrow, and if you're going to ASCA, I will see you there, ASCA Convention 2022. And let's connect, okay? Stop by my booth and say hi. Okay, so in the other one, I want you to put your safety plan. You need a safety plan. We're going to talk in detail a little bit in a couple of seconds. In the other one, I need you to put some resources. I don't know if you can see it. Resources for the mental health resources for the family. And in the other one, additional copies. Usually you need to send this to the district. So let's dive in. The Columbia Suicide Screener Rating Scale is the one that usually you use to make sure and see if it's low risk, high risk, medium, and what are the action steps that you're gonna take. Depending on the district, sometimes you can use that one or you can use a different one. So make sure that you are using the one that the district it's allowing you or asking you to do and follow through. The other one that you need to do is a safety plan for the student before school, after school, in school, lunch, ancillary, specials, recess, things about hopes and triggers, strengths, weaknesses, what type of coping skills do they need to use, how can you provide those skills for them, or if the student is not receiving counseling services, how you can provide counseling services. That's not going to substitute a psychological or psychiatric evaluation, but at least it's a perfect time also to talk about counseling services if you were not serving the student and the student went under the radar, which it can happen to any of us. You need to notify administrators, nurse, teachers, and all the people that your district is asking you to inform. Usually I have a conversation and a meeting with my administrators, assistant principal, with the nurse and the teachers. Obviously the parents are involved too. In the meanwhile, while you're doing all of that, make sure that you contact the parents, calm them down, but explain that this is a situation. It is very important that you need them to report to the school. So it's very important that you keep contacting everyone involved in the process, and by the time that the parents arrive, you have an emergency conference with them. Usually what I do, I explain without the student the first part, and we talk about kind of adult stuff, and then I bring the student in so we can all talk as a family, that the student can find the support system they need. In the safety plan, is also very important that you identify family members, school staff, friends, and people who can, the person he or she can talk to depending of how they feel, or if they're having those negative thoughts again, that someone else can help them out and inform you right away. And the emergency conference is very important that you provide for the parents mental health resources nearby. You can provide also the 911. You can provide also the suicide prevention lifeline, and the phone number and the website if needed. Also, any other document that you need to have from the district, like for example, you need to take a signature that you inform the parent that you did the safety plan, the screener, that you have an emergency conference, and what are the action steps from the family after your conversation with them, sign date and time. I usually put time too, kind of to cover all the bases. I highly encourage you that you do it the same way. When you're doing the rating scale, even though it doesn't have a line to put their name, make sure that you put date, name, and time, at what time you did the screener. To keep the process transparent, I give the parents a copy of everything we talk, and the screener, I explain to them, hey, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. This is not gonna overrule whatever the doctor says. You need to take him or her for a psychological or psychiatric evaluation, and I give them a time frame. I'm very honest about it. After that, obviously you need to check in with the student for all the days, or call the family, or call the mom or the dad, or any guardian, or the foster home, anyone who is in charge of that kid, Also, you need to have a hope or plan for the future when you're doing that with your students. And tip number 4, we touch a little bit of basis on that. It's like contact the administrators as soon as possible, contact the teachers, let them know that the student is with you, that the student is safe, that nothing bad is happening, but they need to be informed. Tip number 5, in the emergency meeting, we talk about it. It will be like family, student, and administrators, depending of the severity of the case. Some of the students, sometimes my administrators join the meeting. Sometimes if it's involving a threat assessment to the school combined with the suicide outcry, it's very important that you contact the administrators right away. Follow the district protocols. Usually after, that's tip number 6, follow the district protocols. Usually after this, you need to call the district or fax all the documents or scan and email all the documents to the districts, or they can keep track of the data. Whatever is at your district's policy, follow through. I used to work in 2 different school districts, and both of them want you to let them know, scan those documents and send it to them. Another thing you could do, also call the at-risk department if it is required, and depending, as I said before, the severity of the case. Tip number 7, transport the student to a mental health facility if it's necessary, and contact CPS if it's necessary. Each case is different. This is usually when the situation escalates to the point that you have to transport the child or the student to a mental health facility. A bunch of people needs to be contacted before you make that decision, and you make that decision based on your screener, based on the facts, based on the information you have, and you must contact the administrators right away to make an informed decision. Call the district, call the police if it's necessary, call CPS if it's necessary, and make the best decision to keep our students safe and alive, because we love them and we care about them, and that's part of our job. Last but not least, don't forget to do something for yourself after each suicide outcry. You may need it. Your soul, your heart, usually it's broken after the facts. You keep it in your soul and in your heart. It is hard for us to separate these tiny, beautiful humans going through all of this with these big emotions, and we are trying to help them succeed and find the help they need. The other thing, our help goes to a certain extension, but when it comes, if the student is high risk, you are an expert. You know that they need to seek for additional help, and sometimes they will give them medicine. Okay, let me know your questions. If you're going to the ASCA convention, I hope to see you there. Hugs and kisses. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my channel and give us a thumbs up. See you next time. Bye.